And Trumponomics are back. The incoming US president threatening hefty tariffs on allies and adversaries alike. So, as the world tries to navigate an impulsive and unpredictable leader, what does Trump's re-election actually mean for our wallets?
The word tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. More beautiful than love.
The world's bracing for the return of the self-styled tariff man.
It's going to make our country rich.
And with good reason. Trump wants to slap tariffs of up to 20% on goods imported from all countries, including Australia. China singled out for far worse, facing tariffs of up to 60%.
He's thrown out all kinds of numbers, but they're big numbers. It would have a significant impact on the world economy.
Our government seeking to downplay concerns that
it's going to affect us very terribly.
A trade war would be very bad.
In a world of churn and change, I like Australia's chances.
The Treasury modelling set to be released tonight has found Australia won't be immune to the fallout, facing lower growth and higher prices, particularly in the short term.
We are well placed, we are well prepared, and there's a lot at stake.
The US only takes 4% of our exports.
Truth be told, we don't export a tonne to the US. We export 10 times as much to China, and it's that knock-on effect through what it might do to the Chinese economy is primarily what we should be worried about.
A slowdown in the economy in China will be bad news for Australia.
Could suppress demand for Australian iron ore, lobsters, wine, and so forth.
Last time Trump took office, we managed to negotiate tariff exemptions.
The fact that we've successfully won an exemption in the past should give us some confidence we can avoid it this time around, but with Trump, you can't take anything for granted.
So as Australia readies for an incoming Donald Trump, how well can we weather the Trump tariff storm?
Right now, I think there's just a lot of people trying to read the tea leaves. What is Trump saying? Everybody is watching for these little tells as to the precise nature that these tariffs might take.
Economist Greg Jericho is from the Australia Institute. Greg, the Treasurer is saying that we're going to be okay under Trump. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, look, I think we're probably going to be okay, but we could also not be okay. It's one of those things with Trump. It always depends on, is he actually going to follow through with some of the rather bizarre and insane things that he says, or are they kind of threats? I mean, the Treasurer is right. We don't do a lot of trade with the USA. It's only about 4 to 5% of total exports. So even if he does slap a 10 or 20% tariff on us, it's going to have a kind of a minor hit. There'll be some key industries maybe will get hurt. The real problem is what happens with China. If he does do the 60% tariff on China, that's where it could kind of come back and really hit us because we are very exposed to China. 35 to 40% of all our exports go there. So if China is hurting, we get hurt as well.
I keep hearing about inflation as a potential effect in Australia. I have to admit I don't quite understand how tariffs on China end up being inflationary for Australia. Have I misread or can you explain this to me?
Yeah, I think you're right as well. I'm not overly concerned about that aspect of the inflationary impact. It's going to hurt Americans more than it's going to hurt Australians. The thing that I'm most worried about with inflation flowing through to Australia is actually a lot of Trump's other policies, the big tax cuts that might actually fuel inflation in America. And again, that fuels inflation throughout the world and generally keeps interest rates higher for longer than they otherwise would be. We always get caught up with inflation from America, and that's, I think, the big worry.
Aside from anything else, do you think the Reserve Bank here might hold off on cutting interest rates because it's uncertain what would happen? Or do you think it's the kind of thing where they go, look, we'll just look at the indicators as they're in front of us at the time and we'll just make a decision?
Well, timing's interesting because he gets inaugurated in January. Yeah. And there's supposed to be potentially an interest rate cut in February.
In February, right. And so if they get to February with a brand new president and they don't know what's going to happen, can you see interest rates staying higher here than they otherwise would have?
Yeah, Steve's right there. I mean, at the moment, there hasn't been much change in sort of what's been forecast because they weren't expecting to do anything in December. So if anything was going to happen, it was going to happen in February anyway, and they might sort of just sit and wait. Is he actually going to be a dictator on day one? Is he going to tank the world's economy, or is it all a bit of bluff and bluster? If anything, if Trump actually, the things he does hurts the American economy and send it sort of going downhill, then actually the impact on interest rates here could actually be a bit of a cut because we want to ensure that our economy keeps going. Hopefully we see the opportunities and actually take advantage of them.
Greg, you're one of the country's top economists, and I did first-year economy stuff at university. That's
Economy stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't a great university, but I think we'll both agree on this. Do you think it's time that Kevin Rudd starts taking golf lessons?
Well, he needs to take lessons in learning how to have creative scoring on the golf course. I think that's the key aspect when you're playing with Trump. So long as he loses to Trump, that will be all that Trump cares about.
All right, Greg, thank you.
Great to chat to you guys.
Great question about golf. Because
Thank you,
there's a
Rossi.
serious aspect to that. Joe Hockey played golf with Trump a couple of times. Greg Norman is a huge fan of Trump's and has his ear. Trump likes those personal connections. We currently, I mean, we can use Greg again, I guess, but we currently don't have an ambassador that I don't think is going to be all that welcome in the White House.
Although Albo did have a conversation with Trump last week, and Trump said, we're going to be perfect friends with Australia. So I wonder how badly this will affect us. I mean,
well, the Americans
some of Trump's
need us.
tariffs have been on since the last Trump presidency.
The Americans need us. We're a forward military base for them in Asia. I mean, that's the big advantage.
Yeah,
we
but
have.
there's so much to unpack there. That assumes that America under Trump has an interest in maintaining its, I don't know, what do you want to say, control in the Pacific. His whole politics has been about actually
isolation.
Right. So this is why it's also unpredictable. If he's philosophically so different from the way American foreign policy, for example, has been run, American economic policy has been run, then it's all on the table.
So you're
we just
saying
don't
if he
know.
puts up the drawbridge, it's all on
What,
forever.
yeah, what if he just says, why are we in the Pacific? I don't care about the Pacific. And I can imagine him saying,
China. He must.
yeah, but does he? Because he wants to put these tariffs on at the same time we saw him strike deals with China. The fact that it's deal making, everyone goes, well, he wants to make a deal, but that doesn't mean we know what deals he'll make.
Tariffs are the most beautiful word in the English language.
Yeah, do you know
Why didn't Biden get rid of the tariffs then that Trump put on in 2016, and why did he expand those tariffs to
Because, well, what you're talking about here, though, in the current Trump presidency, what he's saying is universal tariffs. That's what makes this fundamentally different. We weren't having the same tariff conversation 4 years ago.
I'll call Greg Norman, the Great White Show. I'll give him a buzz.